And welcome to RealAg Live, everybody. Thanks a lot for being here today. We've got a great show for you here today. We've moved our schedule around a little bit this week. Typically, we've been doing the farmer discussions on Thursday, but due to some scheduling, we're going to do a farmer interview today, which I'm really, really looking forward to. If you want to participate in today's discussion, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch, all you got to do is enter it in the comment box and let her fly. Let's have some fun. Ask some questions, make some comments, and that's all part of this RealAg Live experience. Let's bring in today's guest. It is Jeff Bennett of Bone Trail Land Company, based out of Dodsland, Saskatchewan. Jeff, how are you?
Doing awesome. How are you?
Hey, good, man. Great to have you here. Jeff, for some of the viewers all over the place and some overseas, where exactly is Dodsland, Saskatchewan?
Right next to the middle of nowhere. We're about an hour away from the Alberta border on the west side of Saskatchewan, sort of in the middle of the province. Basically straight west of Saskatoon, 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's in some pretty good. I've been to your farm. We'll maybe get to that in a little bit, but there's some nice hill and sway to the land. It's not exactly perfectly flat.
Lacustrian. It's lacustrian.
Is that what we're going with? Lacustrian?
Yeah, slightly nolly. Yeah, it's good. The dirt's pretty okay. We're pretty clear, so it doesn't a whole lot, which helps us in those scenarios, but
yeah,
we're a little on the dry side right now.
What soil type is it?
Heavy clay, like a Regina Scepter heavy clay. So we're 4, 5, 6% organic matter. So it's a bit of a gamble every year, but it's turned out. Farm's been here for over 100 years, so hopefully I don't screw that up. Brian Voth is commenting already.
Yeah.
I told you to block him.
You did request me to block Brian, but when you are a top fan of RealAg Live, you don't get blocked. That's kind of a rule. It's written somewhere.
Does he have a job?
He does. Yes, covering the markets. He's actually quite good at it too. He's been a guest several times.
He was at my farm a little while ago. I'm just bugging the tall guy.
Very tall guy. Don't underestimate. Don't understate that.
The first time I met Brian, we were incredibly shocked to realize that we were both way taller than we thought we were. So
yeah. Well, you are, Jeff. You're not a small guy yourself. So yeah,
we're of equal height and stature.
I've always thought if there was ever going to be like a brawl at a beer gardens at a farm event, I want you to be my tag team partner.
Okay. I'm going to bring Daryl Francie with me too.
Oh, he'd be good too, because he actually, in junior hockey, he fought a lot. So he's thrown a few fists before in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think do you think Daryl Francie can take a punch though?
I don't know. I'm not sure he's ever actually been hit.
He just knocks the other guy out. Is that what we're going with?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Jeff, what crops you growing on your farm?
Barley, number one crop this year for making money, which is the end goal. Canola and lentils, and then begrudgingly wheat.
Yeah, you were on a Farmer Rapid Fire on RealAg Radio, probably going back about 2 months, and I asked you which crop do you swear at the most, and you said wheat. Why wheat?
It sucks.
The price sucks, or growing it sucks?
It is impossible to make money from wheat, no matter what Daryl Francis box, I'll say.
You just can't. You kind of broke up there, but you just can't make money growing it.
I make money, but I can grow a crop insurance lentil crop and make the same amount of money. So,
how were your lentils this year?
Incredibly poor. They could be worse, but crop insurance was out, so that's how good they were.
What made them so bad? Was it the heat, or is it just that heavy clay, no moisture? What was the problem?
Too much water. we had 4 inches of rain in one shot, and it wasn't drowned out. It just, the soil got saturated. And here's my theory is that the bacteria got drowned out with no air. So then the plants had no nitrogen. So the plants died. Like when we harvested tiny little dead plants in rows, they just didn't grow past July.
Oh man. We first met going back to a farm show in London, Ontario, and I was introduced to you by now our very good mutual friend, Megan Madden, Megan Alexkin at that time, and we had a lot of fun. We were at the London farm. You were working for, if I remember right, you were working for Novozymes, weren't you?
I think it was Novozymes then. I don't. It might have. It had to have been Novozymes.
Yeah. I remember it specifically because I flew the red eye into London, Ontario, did the farm show the entire day, and then Megan drugged me out to go for drinks with this guy named Jeff. And the three of us indulged in a lot of fun and striking up a friendship. And I flew home the next morning with a rather large headache.
Back when no one knew who RealAg was. Those were the days, Shaun.
That is true. That is very, very true. It was me and a camera and just hoofing it. I'll tell you, man.
Yeah.
There's those days. So as I mentioned, you're working for Novozymes. Do you miss working in industry?
Not really. Like there's very few days where I wish I was having to talk to people or servicing anybody's needs, I guess. I like being my own boss. I don't know. Sometimes miss just seeing people, not working with them or for them, but just seeing people.
Yeah.
Answer is no. I did it. I wanted to come back and farm, and that's where I ended up.
Did you always know that you wanted to farm?
No. Like majority of the time, yes. Had very few doubts, but just, I mean, how do you know what there is to do, when you're even just starting to actually farm? You don't realize how much stuff goes on every day that you think, oh man, I'm going to have so much time to get all this done and do such a good job. And I remember the first year that I came back full-time farming, I had a really good year, and I started doing the numbers of what I was going to owe for next year.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't make any money. So it's just, it was a steep learning curve. I didn't have regrets when I started farming, but definitely harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, I think sometimes we pretend, or we sort of assume that everybody has the same path back to the farm. And some people, it's just a natural thing. They want to do it since they were the age of 10. But there's a lot of farmers that when I talk to about that question, there's no right way to do it. Some people go away to college. Some people work in industry like you did. Some people say to themselves when they're 18, I am never coming back to this place. And something drags them back for whatever reason. So I think everybody has their own path back.
Totally. This like what I did was sort of what I intended to do, work in the industry for 3-5 years and end up full-time, however that worked, with a part-time job or a winter job or whatever, but just make it work. But yeah, like there's no rules to it. There's no timeline. If it's where you want to be, you should be there.
Absolutely. Lindsay wants to know, what's the Bone Trail name mean? Where did you get that from?
Well, there's an old settler trail that runs just north of our place, like in the early 1900s. And it was the Old Bone Trail. They used it to bring buffalo bones that were scattered everywhere around into Saskatoon. And then the settlers used it when they were settling this area. So that's where the Bone Trail comes from. And then my great grandfather worked for the Loose Land Company. When he bought some land here, his farm was the Newport Land Company. And so that's sort of the two sort of historical things of why. Time to choose a name because we did SAS number 10, 11, 72, 88, 4. And it got a little tiresome saying that, writing it on checks. So when I picked the name, I was pretty happy with it. Like, it's something that we're gonna have the rest of our farming careers, and I like it. And it's got a story to it, which is sort of the point too.
Absolutely, I think it's really, really cool. So have you found a bunch of like kind of settler artifacts like around like every so often, or
Not really. Like you get the odd horse related piece of metal stuck to your drill during seeding.
Oh.
Not a lot. Like our farm, there's an old barn on it that was built in, I think, 1908 or something like that. And Dad invested in it to get it sided, like tin sided. It's going to stand for a while. And there's a lot of old ones in the farm. But where my farm is actually where the blacksmith shop was essentially for the farm. So there's lots of history. That it's amazing what those guys did and how long ago they were here.
Oh,
but
could you imagine? Like,
no.
Think about that. Think about if you had made your way on a chuck wagon across the prairies, surviving through the winter. You get there and you build your little sod shack or closet. You get it all set up, and then you're like in the middle of nowhere. You got the blowing dirt because of all the things going on, and then you've got the winters and just trying to live through that. I couldn't even imagine.
I think I'd probably die.
You wouldn't survive?
I don't know. I like to think I would, but I mean, I'm pretty good playing Oregon Trail back in elementary school. That maybe I would have been okay, but you guys were tough. They make even the better these days look like a pansy.
Yeah. Question here from Kara. You and Shiloh held the first egg meetup in Western Canada going back a couple of years ago. That's the year that I went to your farm and I slept in my truck. What made you decide to do that?
I had very little to do with it initially.
Yeah.
It was Charlotte's idea. She loves hosting people and being in the middle of nowhere. You don't really see a lot of people sometimes. So it was mostly her idea, and we got it all set up. It was awesome. You meet these people that you've been talking to. Not everyone's gone to London together and drank with Megan in a bar to get to know each other.
Yeah.
You never see these people. Just an excuse. We sort of made an excuse for people to get together, and it was a lot of fun. It was
oh, cut out there. But it was a lot of fun. I agree with you. It was absolutely a blast. And there was people there from, like, if I remember right, there was somebody that had driven from or came up from Florida. There was somebody there from Texas. Like, people came from all over the place, all the way to Dodsland to just hang out with a bunch of people from agriculture for the weekend. Like, it was kind of a little bit mind-blowing.
It was cool. And again, just an excuse, and there was no pressure, no agenda, no sales opportunities. I mean, we had sponsors, and we really wanted to showcase, some of their products in a field tour, and more than that, just show what eggs like in this part of the world, because it's different. And so many areas are so different. I always used to sort of think that our agriculture was the only agriculture, and everything else was sort of a spin-off when I was young and naive. How integrated everything is, and go back and forth. So it was a lot of fun.
Jim Hale wants to know, what hat do you have on today?
Hang on.
Oh, I thought we were going to catch him. I thought we were going to get him. So, where's he going? Ooh, what's that?
Wait. Hang on.
Ooh.
I gotta think backwards here.
That's pretty
cool. But it's a curved brim, Hang on.
How does one get their hands on one of these?
Shiloh took pictures for Jim and Aaron the other day.
Oh,
there, now I'm a farmer.
Now you're a farmer. Look
now
at
I'm
you.
a country music singer.
all you need is a guitar, and you could go right to Tennessee, man. You'd be on The Voice. Like, there's no question about it right there. Absolutely. You should see this question. As you're on the brink of 40 years old, your path is quite interesting with working in industry, working with buffalo, and now running your own farm that you've taking over your parents. What's the best advice you can give to young up-and-coming farmers?
I wonder how long it took Daryl to type that.
Well, unanswered questions.
One, I'm 34 and 11/12. My path is quite interesting. I guess Daryl lives in North Battleford, so most things are interesting to him. The buffalo are still dads. They're really neat animals. They're something that not a lot of people around in, so that's cool. And advice for up and coming farmers: have parents who were successful before you.
Is that what it is? No, come on. So. There's more to it than that.
Know your numbers. Everybody talks about yields and prices and, expenses, but unless you know what they are and you know them well enough to adapt when things change, it's incredibly difficult to manage these day-to-day challenges that come up. So I would say know your numbers and know them well.
Good advice. Brian Voth has watched a lot of these lives with us and participated. He thinks you are the first guest to actually do a wardrobe change mid-show, and I have to agree with him. I think you are. There's some sort of like award badge you get for that.
Excited. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for noticing. So what was your experience with bison? Back up on that one. I think Lindsay brought up a good point there. Tell us about what you're doing.
Mom and dad. Pre-BSC, had a worst case scenario, and they bought 22 bred heifers. 22 heifers. It turns out 5 of them were bred. And then it just expanded. Then BSC hit, and mom and dad hoped for the worst case scenario back. And it's for dad, it was more the romantic side of it. We've got a pasture with a lot of native grass in it, and we dad seeded some very, good land to pasture. 168 really good pasture that they roam. We do have different pastures in it, but no, they're such a neat animal. You drive south of the yard and you can see, a herd of buffalo on native prairie. It's pretty romantic. It's really, really neat. I'm glad he did that.
But the females are vicious, are they not? Like I've talked to vets before that don't even want to go close to a buffalo.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be around when you don't leave them alone. Like if they have calving problems, there's not much you can do about it. But they don't really have calving problems. They're so bred for this area. I mean, they're from here, so they're used to winters. They're used to grazing. All we do in the winter is feed them, and they they eat snow. In the summer, you check the waters and count the calves and make sure your handling facilities built enough to move them through.
Yeah. And sorry, do you have them still?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
They're dads. Cool. They're all dads right now. We'll keep them. That's the plan. But until dad wants to or is unable to, have them, they're this time of year, they're interesting because everything has to get switched over to what you have to do in the winter. So you're working on, bale processors and getting feed home, and they're they're definitely not as intensive as cows though. You can still leave the farm.
Yeah. Now your dad had his talk about that. There was a bit of a transition on the farm. This was your first year of really
Full time, all the acres, I guess. So yeah, dad loved farming. He has two friends. He farmed one of them up until last year, and so we still work together. Dad's still on the farm every day, but the decision makings and everything he's still there for moral support and the old sage man that he is. But we're all the acres were farmed by me this year and paid for, and the risk and reward is mine now, I guess.
Yeah. But he's still working alongside you, so in some way, like, there's been a change, but in some ways not.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I think it's a nice period and experience to go through to be able to work side by side, because his advice, I'm sure, is still quite valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's there more than he needs to be, but not more than he's wanted to be there, if that makes sense.
I hear you. Caitlin watching on Twitter says, Jeff, some say you are wizard-like. That could be the beard. Share some life advice with us.
Life advice. Thank you, Caitlin. Life is about duality. It's about the ups and downs. It's about the good and the bad. And you have to be both and learn about both before you know who you are.
That was wizard-like. That was pretty good, right? That was off the top of your head. Do you have like a bunch of signs, like sayings in the kitchen you just read off of there, or did that come off the top of your head?
Hang on, Shaun. On the farm, we get our hands dirty, shut the gate and the front door, listen to mama, count our blessings, keep our promises, mend fences, mind our own biscuits, do our chores, use our manners, love the land. Never let our praying knees get lazy, get into a little bit of trouble, live simply, nurture our roots, work hard and have fun, love until the cows come home.
That's nice. All in the kitchen. Wow. What about the rest of the house?
That's one sign.
Oh, that was one sign. Oh my goodness. Kara says or asks, any plans for the winter, as there won't be farm shows to socialize at, so it's gonna be hard for us to get together for a pint. Jeff, what are your winter plans?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet. We invested in a cabin this last year. That's something that's new for us as a family. So take the sleds up there and do a little bit of snowmobiling and just hang out at the lake for the odd week at a time, maybe. There's always stuff to do on the farm, but try and do a little bit every day. Another bit of dad's wisdom.
Do you think that Shiloh's going to drag you up to the mountains with those snow sleds?
No, not yet.
I told you, I'd be terrified.
We'll pick you up on the way.
No, don't. I'd be so scared. I'll go like flat land sledding, like, where you just go as fast as you can up into the pivot point and just try not to hit the pivot point. But to go in the mountains, avalanches like really scare me.
I like being alive, so I'm sort of in the same boat as you.
Yeah. Not a daredevil. Not a dare. So the cabin, will you get a chance to, like, is that in Saskatchewan or out in BC? Like, will you? Okay.
No. Up at Candle Lake, so it's about a 4-hour drive for us, but it's in the trees north of PA, so beautiful country and close enough to amenities that everything we need is there, but far enough away from any sort of work that I won't be enticed to come home and do anything. So everything's planned and to be a real vacation or time away.
Well, and Jeff, now that you've taken on, ownership of the farm and the risks and reward that come with that, do you appreciate the opportunity to kind of have some of that downtime to sort of do a bit of a recharge and a refresh? Do you take it a little bit more, less for granted, I guess?
More, maybe not less for granted, because I've always tried to find balance between getting the work done and being a dad, being a husband. But I think a lot of that more comes from prioritizing things better and just learning what works and being able to kind of roll with the punches and be able to take that time. More of a learning experience than, not taking it for granted, because I've always known, but until you actually figure out how to do it, it's a little harder to appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell us about the family. How many kids do you and Shiloh have?
We got 2 kids, a girl who's 9 going on 17, and Axel is 3, just about 4. He's quite a large little man. So I'm actually taking him to his first skating lesson, or can skate here after we're off the interview. So, but they're good. And Shiloh bought a gym.
Oh, that's a nice little diversification. So is that in Kindersley, or where is that?
Yeah. No, in Kindersley. So there was an established business for 25 years there, and the guy wanted to retire. So they were working on something that worked for both of them for almost, a year and a half. And finally it clicked for both of them. And yeah, Shell's got her sign up on it now and making it her own. And it's really good.
So, and Shiloh says hi, by the way. Is
Can I tell you a story about Shiloh real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I called her today to tell her that what I was supposed to be doing today didn't happen. Anyway, I call her and she's like, "Hello, Shiloh speaking." And I'm like it's her. I'm her husband. My name isn't saved in your phone, or what?
One of those uncomfortable moments. I think Axel is honestly one of the. I like that name. That's pretty cool. Does that come from your big Guns N' Roses fan, or does that come from somewhere else?
No, it's a family name.
Really?
I had a great uncle named Axel, spelled differently, but family is Scandinavian, so the Axel is quite fitting for him too. Blonde, blue-eyed, tall.
Yeah. A very good question. Brian would like to know, who wins in a fight, you or Shiloh?
Shiloh's constantly frustrated by the fact that I don't work out and I'm still stronger than her. So I don't know. To answer your question. I'm also a foot taller than her, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah. Well,
and my old man strength came in, so that's cool.
Old man strength, I like it. Daryl says it's pretty obvious Jeff is pretty soft, which is kind of retribution for earlier in the program. So that's good.
Daryl.
Danny says, "Oh, I thought he was named after the ski racing legend Alexa Lund Svindal." I don't know what Danny's talking about.
No one ever knows what Danny's talking about.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You've got you now. Shiloh owns a gym. You have equipment in your shop. I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sophisticated home gym. It's better than probably 99% of the people that have home gyms that are watching this, if any of them have home gyms. What's your excuse for not working out?
I have none. Caitlin. I don't know. I keep it's always next on my to-do list. And I did have this conversation with Shiloh last week, and that when I get my shit done, pardon the French, this week I will have time to go either at home or in Kindersley. So I bought a gym membership at my own gym, so I should probably
support investing in yourself. Kara asks, what's the biggest challenge trying to start a business in a rural area?
Consistent income. It's so hard to judge if a business is going to work because you don't have population behind you. The business plans for anything you can make sense. It's more a matter of if they actually will, because there's such a small percentage of people who actually do anything. You're not selling, and then if there is enough people, you have competition. So it's a matter of again, numbers. It's a matter of managing your priority in business, so you know what to invest in or how much money to spend and what's the return going to be in how many years, and can you afford to hold the business if there's, how do you predict COVID? We had a COVID, and then they closed the gyms, and if we would have made that deal before, we would have been shot down before we were able to start, just because how do you float a business for 3 months without any income? There's just, you gotta manage, that side of things. Know your opportunity, but at the same time, know your risk.
Yeah, but doesn't it go back to some of your advice you gave earlier? Just like you said, to farmers that are starting out, know your numbers. That's honestly the same as if you're running a gym in Kindersley, know your numbers. There's a lot of similarities between the two, is there not?
Absolutely. The advantage that a gym has, though, is you can actually increase your income, essentially. Whereas I can't go out and grow more lentils, whereas you can go out and get more membership if you know where it is, where your numbers are. Absolutely. Like you're 100% right. If you don't know where it needs to come from and to make those things make sense, then there's not going to be a beer. So, but it is, business is business. But there's definitely differences in the two, but you learn from each one and sort of try and bring it back to the other one.
Yeah. Few people have commented on your internet. They think your biggest challenge is internet service. And I think there's a lot of farmers around Canada that could say the same thing. Man, it's frustrating.
It's horrible. SaskTel sucks.
So you're saying the government can't fix everything?
The government can't fix most things. If the government's involved, it probably shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. You going back, I think it's going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years you've been on the board of Western Wheat Growers?
Just over a year.
Just over a year, okay.
Yeah.
What made you take that step?
Daryl begged me. He needs someone young in there.
Needed somebody young in there.
Younger than him.
Have you enjoyed it?
It is, I'm not going to say different than I thought it was going to be. It's, well, because it is. But I mean, how do you talk about ag policy when there's government that's so focused on something that's like COVID that, they don't talk about ag policy. They don't want to meet with anyone. So it's been a bit frustrating of a learning curve, not for my own. I mean, a little bit of a blessing maybe in the fact that with this being my first year, I don't feel like I'm missing out on a lot. I wish I was, kind of a thing. So there was more going on, but you talk about an organization that's built from a solid foundation. I think that's the people that are on the board are some of the most impressive people in the industry and about it. You don't hear a lot about them because I guess that's why I like them so much, is because they're quietly doing their job. They're not all about fanfare. You don't hear about them a lot. They don't toot their own horn, but they're doing a lot. They know a lot of people. They know the ins and outs. It's intimidating to be with some of those people. They talk about things and, they sort of let you jump in and hit the treadmill running, or baptism of fire kind of a thing. But I'm excited to be on that board. There's so many people to learn from on there, and in a part of the world or a part of the industry that I never really have ever thought about or focused on, ag policy. I dislike government. So why would I get involved with somebody that, or something that's, the chance, opening up a little bit of my mind and my eyes to how this world and how this industry works. So integrated, so deep, and what actually changes things is interesting.
Yeah. Like John Kowalczyk says, you learn just as much as you help when you're on a board. It's awesome. Well done, Jeff. And you describe some of your perception of some of the other members on the board, but you yourself are obviously doing a lot, taking on it's a big responsibility, taking over the farm. But also, I would say I consider you a pretty private person at the same time.
And I guess that's why it drives for me so much, because you hear, like, there's group chats and stuff which, because of the restrictions that are ongoing, it's hard to feed off of someone's energy and body language and figure out what they're all about. But when it's it's just a fascinating group to be a part of. But yeah, like it's definitely, the private side of things has definitely allowed me to kind of explore that a little bit.
Yeah. There's one last question. I know you want to talk about this. Caitlin asks, how do you think the results of the U.S. election will impact Canadian farmers? I know you wanted to hit on this, Jeff.
I hate politics. Personally, I'm not a fan of Trump. I don't agree with him as a person. I don't think he's as bad as what the media says. I think Biden is worse, because when Biden is deemed unfit to be president, you're left with Harris, who probably loves Justin Trudeau, but they view the world and their role in it. But as far as Canada goes, I don't know, because Trump is so nationalist that there's little opportunity, whereas Biden there might be. But at the same time, if you've got some of the policies that him and his future delegation might bring in, it's hard to say. I don't know if there's a good answer for Canada or the US. How do you have that many million people in a country and end up with those two?
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. The jury is out on who would be better for Canada. I've written a couple pieces trying to steer through all that and trying to ask questions, and I think it's pretty inconclusive. I'm not sure we really know. We're going to find out, but we really don't know at this point. So, did you watch any of it last night?
Trump. No, I didn't watch any. I sort of followed along a little bit, but yeah, they're. I don't know. I don't think they know. I saw a meme where it was a map of the U.S. with a bunch of different, like a pencil crayon, like a kid had colored on it. What we know so far, and that pretty much explains it.
Oh, hey, great stuff. Hey, Jeff, it's been awesome to have you on here. I really do appreciate it. I always enjoy our chats, and I'm kind of sad we're not going to probably run into each other through the winter here, but we can definitely keep in connection on things like text and phone calls and stuff like that. I really appreciate you being here today, man.
Thanks, Shaun.
And all the best to you and Shiloh on the farm and the gym, okay?
You bet. Absolutely.
Hey, tomorrow on the show here, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to have a discussion with author John Stackhouse. We're going to kind of jump outside of agriculture and talk about the high-profile nature of Canadian expats around the world. Some of the great things that Canadians are doing in countries like the U.S., Asia, and Europe, and how Canada really needs to get these expats organized to really be our 11th province. I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book. I'm going to finish it up tonight, and I'm looking forward to talking to John Stackhouse, the author, tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun and very, very insightful, and we're going to get a bit of a better understanding of what it means to be Canadian in this current world environment. I encourage you today to check out RealAg Radio on Rural Radio 147. Got Jim Wiesmeyer from Pro Farmer to break down the election. We're also going to be talking to Senator Rob Black. He gave an address yesterday in the Senate talking about how, honestly, agriculture was left out of the throne speech several weeks ago, and he's going to talk about why that upsets him, and most farmers across the country should be very disappointed. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Live. Have a great day, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.